You've probably heard people say that a narcissist's biggest fear is losing you, that they panic when you go quiet, step back, or finally walk out of their life. But I am here to tell you that the story is far more complicated than that. That fear is only the surface layer. Underneath it, hidden deep in their subconscious, lies a darker, older, more primitive terror that drives nearly all their behavior. It is the one truth they have been distracting you from since day one. They hid it behind charm, confusion, drama, and manipulation because the moment you discover this truth, their power over you doesn't only weaken, it completely collapses. So, what is the real realization beneath everything? What truth about you terrifies them more than anything? The narcissist is instantly unsettled by your natural strength, your positivity, and the energy you carry without trying. When they first enter your life, they don't see a regular human being. They see a powerful source of emotional fuel. Jung described libido not just as sexual energy, but as the deep mental force that pushes creativity, willpower, and existence itself. You carry more of this energy than most people. You are likely someone full of fresh ideas, driven by genuine passion for life, and capable of speaking and acting with honesty and confidence. This inner power is what captures their eyes. But you must understand something critical. Their attention is not admiration in a healthy sense. Their attention is the hunger of someone starving, staring at someone who is full. They are magnetized to people with internal strength because they are empty on the inside. Jung said that individuals who avoid the work of individuation, becoming a whole, real self, often feel fragmented and incomplete. This is the narcissist. They lack a solid inner core. They do not produce their own confidence, identity, or self-worth. They must steal these things from outside themselves. When they observe you, they see someone whole, someone who shapes the world around them, who influences others without effort, and who carries a stability they can only fake. This makes you appealing to them, but also frightening. This is the twisted contradiction of their condition. They chase you because they need the power you have, but your very existence also triggers their deepest insecurities. Every time you act with certainty, you highlight their insecurity. Every time you speak honestly, you expose their lies. On some level, even if they don't consciously say it, they know you carry real substance. Jung suggested that people often project their unrealized potential onto others. For the narcissist, you are that unrealized dream, the golden shadow, the version of themselves they wish they could be but never will be. This creates a deep fear inside them. Their first fear is that you might discover how powerful you actually are. If you truly saw the value of your qualities, you would never tolerate their behavior. If you realized your emotional energy is precious currency, you would stop giving it away so freely. They know that anyone who becomes aware of their own strength cannot be controlled, so they must keep you confused. They must enter your life to access your energy, but they must also immediately begin making sure you never fully understand how much power you hold. They observe that you can function perfectly well without them, while they know they cannot survive without a steady supply from someone like you. This creates a dependency that fills them with resentment. They hate that they need you to regulate their fragile ego. They convince themselves and eventually try to convince you that you are the one who should feel lucky to have them. This is a psychological shield they use to protect their weak sense of self from the truth. The truth is that you are the real one. They are the copy. You are the source of energy. They are the drain. They fear the moment you recognize this. because it signals the collapse of their entire survival strategy. Their entire identity depends on you believing that you are small and they are large. But the real situation is the opposite. You are the one who creates, moves, thinks, and builds. They are the one who imitates, manipulates, and destroys. If you woke up to this, their control would vanish instantly. They are not scared of your weakness. They depend on creating it. They fear your strength because it is authentic. If what you are hearing feels familiar, stay close. The psychological journey is just beginning. The next part reveals why they chose you in the first place and why their interest was never genuine connection. A narcissist's attraction to you is not emotional. It is not love. It is purely transactional. In their world, relationships are not based on bonding, trust, or shared growth. They are based entirely on usefulness. Jung wrote about the persona, the mask people wear for society. For most, it is a simple tool. For the narcissist, it is their whole identity. There is nothing behind it. They chose you because you make that mask stronger. They pick you for your supply, status, appearance, kindness, reputation, or resources. They treat you the way a selfish person treats a valuable object, something to show off or use. They want your abilities, your charm, your respect, and your energy. When they look at you, they calculate your benefits. They admire your qualities not to celebrate them, but to own them. This is a psychological feeding. They believe that by standing next to you, your strengths will somehow transfer onto them. They hope your intelligence will make them look smarter. They hope your good reputation will boost their own image. They hope your stable presence will soothe their chaos. They want to feed off what you have created, not honor it. They act proud of you while secretly taking credit for everything you do. When you shine, they pretend the light belongs to them. Jung wrote about universal archetypes, and the narcissist is obsessed with the archetype of the important one, the special figure. Because they cannot become this through their own efforts, they attach themselves to someone who embodies these qualities. You become their power source, their battery. They didn't choose you out of love. They chose you because you were valuable. But hidden in this stage is their next fear. The fear that you will realize they need you far more than you ever needed them. They present themselves as independent and superior. They act as if being with them is a privilege. But this is the opposite of reality. Without your supply, they crumble. Without your validation, their false self collapses. Without your energy, they fall into depression or rage. They call you needy to hide their own desperation. They accuse you of being emotional to hide their own instability. They call you demanding when they are the ones who cannot survive without constant attention. They fear that you will see the math clearly. You bring the value, they bring the emptiness. You bring truth, they bring fantasy. If you saw how uneven the exchange was, you would walk away without hesitation. This is why they hide the transactional nature of the relationship. They need you to believe it is destiny, romance, or a rare bond. They need you to believe in something sacred, so you overlook the fact that they are simply mirroring you to extract what they want. They pray you never pull back the curtain and discover that behind their confident act is a frightened person desperately pulling strings to hold an illusion together. Now we move to the moment when the admiration they had begins to transform into fear. Before a narcissist tries to dominate you, something subtle occurs, something they hope you never detect. The admiration they felt toward your strength begins to sour. The power that drew them in now makes them feel exposed and threatened. They realize they cannot control someone who is grounded in their own identity. So quietly, step by step, they begin a mission, not to remove your power, but to disconnect you from it. If they can make you question the things you were once sure of, they can reshape your entire reality. They cannot rule over you while you stand tall in your own value. So they begin taking apart your confidence piece by piece. Jung described the shadow, the hidden side of the personality. For the narcissist, this shadow is a hunger for domination, used to cover their deep feelings of inferiority. When they meet someone like you, their shadow wakes up. They feel a forced urge to reduce you to their level. They begin training you through manipulation, lies, and emotional traps. It starts gradually. They get you to hand over your power without even noticing. They trick you into believing you are less than them. They use hot and cold behavior, giving you affection one day and pulling it away the next, creating a chemical addiction in your brain. You begin working hard for their approval, not realizing you are being conditioned. They strip away your sense of inner strength. They do this to capture you and keep you stuck in a situation you never asked for. They create a world where you feel small, dependent, or indebted. They manipulate you into believing you deserve the mistreatment. They accuse you of the very faults they have. If they lie, they blame you. If they are selfish, they call you inconsiderate. Jung described projection as throwing your unwanted qualities onto someone else. By forcing you to defend yourself against false charges, they keep you unbalanced. You get so busy trying to justify yourself that you forget you were the honest one all along. They slowly weaken you so you cannot see your own potential. They want you to feel like their possession. They enforce obedience, not through physical force, but through invisible psychological chains. They behave as if they have authority over you, but this authority is fake. It only works if you agree to it. They put themselves in the role of judge, and without noticing, you begin acting like the accused. Their goal is to turn you into someone who does not question them, like a pet or a servant. A pet does not challenge its owner. A servant forgets they have the strength to stand up. By lowering you into a submissive state, they remove the threat of your inner power. They cannot handle an equal. An equal requires honesty and mutuality, things they cannot give. They need someone beneath them, someone who mirrors their greatness, not someone who reflects the truth. Their fear is simple. If you stay strong, they lose control. A person who knows who they are cannot be gaslit. A person with self-worth does not accept disrespect. A person who knows their value does not accept crumbs. Your strength still exists under all the layers of doubt they placed on you. They are terrified that one day it will rise again. Jung said the psyche is self-correcting. When a person is pushed too far down, something inside eventually pushes back. The narcissist is constantly fighting this natural push. They know your natural state is strong, so they work endlessly to suppress you. They fear that you will stop asking for their approval and start seeing them clearly. When you stand in your strength, their tricks lose power. Their silent treatment does nothing. Their insults do not land. Their triangulation does not create jealousy. Your strength makes their entire toolbox of manipulation useless. This is why they work so hard to drain you. They are not just being cruel, they are launching a preemptive strike against your future independence. They want to break your will before you realize you have the will to leave. And now we arrive at the next part, the doubt they create. A narcissist does not oppose you because your ideas are wrong. They oppose you because doubt is the fastest path to control. If they can shake your certainty, they can shape your world. So they attack the things you feel sure about, even tiny things. You notice that no matter what you say, they push the opposite view. If you like a movie, they say it is awful. If you are excited about a new project, they list reasons it will fail. If you mention a fact, they argue the small details to make you feel mistaken. This is not a disagreement. It is a method of destabilizing your internal compass. Around a strong person, the narcissist feels an instinctive need to resist. They refuse to accept anything you value. They act as if they cannot see merit in your choices. They pretend your interests are silly or unimportant. This behavior prevents you from feeling validated or confident. Humans need a sense of social mirroring to feel grounded. When the person closest to you consistently reflects a twisted image, your sense of self slowly breaks. They create doubt by being constantly contrary. They learn to disagree with you almost automatically. They do this to plant uncertainty in your mind. Jung understood that our sense of reality is supported by our interactions. When someone agrees with you, it stabilizes your perception. The narcissist knows this and uses the opposite tactic. By refusing to agree with even small things, they keep your reality floating. You start questioning your own judgments. Imagine a simple example. You choose a restaurant you know is good. A healthy partner either agrees or suggests something else kindly. The narcissist, however, attacks the place, saying the food is terrible or that your taste is bad. Even if they go, they complain all evening, making you feel guilty for choosing it. Not because the restaurant is bad, but because you chose it. If they can make you regret your own decisions, you will stop making decisions. They also rewrite events. If you confront them about something they said, they deny it. They tell you that you misunderstood, that you're being too sensitive, or that you imagined it. They speak with such confidence that you begin to doubt your own memory. You might apologize for things you never did just to calm the situation. That is their goal, to make you trust their reality more than your own. They want to be the only source of truth in your life. They want to be the one you rely on for every interpretation of events. They want to weaken your ability to trust your mind so they can guide your mind. They pretend they do not notice your strengths, even though they secretly admire them deeply. When the narcissist acts resistant or dismissive, they are not being real or honest. Inside, they often hold a strong admiration for the exact things they criticize on the surface. They may actually love the music you enjoy, yet they will mock it right to your face. They might be genuinely impressed by your career or talents, yet they will belittle those accomplishments whenever you speak about them. They refuse to acknowledge your value because they believe that giving you any validation reduces their own importance. Every interaction to them becomes a competition. If you are right, they feel as if they are automatically wrong. And because they cannot allow themselves to feel defeated, they make it their mission to make you wrong at all costs. This whole pattern serves a very specific purpose: control. If they were ever to agree with you openly, they would be admitting that you have a mind, a viewpoint, and a sense of identity that stands separate from them. To a narcissist, validating you feels like surrendering power. They must remain the authority. They behave as if they hold some superior insight or better standards than you. They position themselves as the judge, while you become the person constantly put on trial, waiting for a verdict that somehow always ends up negative. The constant doubt they place in your mind drains you. You spend huge amounts of energy explaining yourself, defending your feelings, and trying to prove even the simplest points. You bring facts, you show evidence, you use logic, you try to reason, but none of it works. They are not searching for the truth, They are searching for dominance. They can argue in circles forever purely to keep you entangled. They will shift topics without warning, bring up mistakes you made years ago, or suddenly criticize your tone, anything to avoid admitting that you might be right. Eventually, you become exhausted. You give up trying to argue. You say, "Fine, you're right," just so you can have some peace. And that surrender is exactly the outcome they want. They aim their attacks at the things you care most about because those are the strongest parts of your identity. If you care deeply about a political idea, they will challenge it with the sole intention of shaking your beliefs. If you love your family, they will point out what they see as flaws. They want to weaken your emotional foundation. If they can make you doubt your values, your loved ones, and your passions, then eventually you will have nothing left to hold on to except them. You become unmoored, drifting in confusion, looking to them for direction because your internal compass has been broken. This constant opposition is also a shield against their own emptiness. Narcissists lack a stable inner identity. They do not define themselves by who they are, but by who they are not. When they argue with you or tear down your ideas, they feel a temporary sense of identity. They feel stronger while they dismantle your arguments and feel powerful while mocking your choices. Your emotional responses give them the feeling of impact. If they can make someone strong, insightful, and capable like you feel insecure or nervous, they experience a sense of control. That momentary jolt of power is how they confirm to themselves that they exist. Their behavior reveals how afraid they truly are. Your confidence threatens their fragile sense of self. If you trust your own judgment, you do not need theirs. If you remain steady in your choices, you do not need them to guide you. A person who trusts their own mind is impossible to control, and this terrifies them. They need you unsure. They need you anxious about your own decisions, so you will surrender decision-making power to them. They are terrified of the moment you stop asking for their opinion. They want you to live in a state of hesitation. They want you to pause before speaking, wondering if your words will be criticized. They want you to question your clothes before leaving the house. They want a layer of low-level anxiety to settle into your everyday life because that anxiety keeps you watching them, adjusting to them, reacting to them. You become hyper-aware, constantly reading their mood and trying to predict how they will respond. You try to prevent their criticism before it even happens. This becomes a psychological cage. They trap you in a prison made of self-doubt, and the only key they offer is their approval, yet they will never truly give it. If you have ever had to move forward alone, without encouragement, without anyone lifting you up, relying only on your willpower, share your story because someone else might find hope through your words. You never know whose strength your experience might awaken. Ultimately, their constant opposition exposes their fragility. A secure person doesn't need to destroy someone else's sense of reality just to feel safe. A secure person can disagree without becoming threatened. The narcissist cannot. They are defending a glass fortress that cracks easily. They know that once you stop doubting yourself, you will start examining them. You will begin to see their contrarian behavior for what it is, a desperate attempt to remain important in your world. They are not the wise, powerful figure they pretend to be. They are simply someone terrified of being irrelevant. They create conflict because silence would force them to face their own emptiness. Facing themselves is the one thing they cannot bear. The truth is that their attacks land exactly on the parts of you that matter most to them, and understanding that begins to reveal their deepest fear. The narcissist does not go after your weaknesses, they strike your strengths. This is one of the most confusing aspects of their behavior because it goes against everything you would expect. You naturally assume that someone claiming to love you would encourage your best qualities, but they see those qualities as threats. Your strongest traits are the barriers standing between them and total control. A person who knows their worth is impossible to dominate. If you trust your own intelligence, you will dismiss their attempts to confuse you. If you trust your moral compass, you will not absorb their unfair guilt. If you trust your independence, you will not allow them to make you dependent. That is why they must target these exact strengths. They take what you are proud of and turn it into something you begin to question. This is their deliberate attack on your sense of self. When you are naturally generous and kind, a healthy person appreciates this. But the narcissist twists it. They tell you that your kindness is stupidity. They say that you are easily fooled. They claim people laugh at you behind your back. They plant doubt until you begin to question a part of yourself that is genuinely good. You shy away from your natural kindness, not because you want to, but because you have been trained to see it as weakness. They use the same method on your competence and intelligence. Many narcissists pick partners who are capable, organized, insightful people. Yet during the relationship, they make you feel like you cannot get anything right. They obsess over tiny mistakes and inflate them until they overshadow your successes. You might handle a complicated project at work, but if you forget something small at home, they treat you like you are irresponsible. Their reactions are never about the mistake. They are about controlling the story you believe about yourself. If you start doubting your ability to handle small things, you will soon doubt your ability to handle anything. Your emotional stability is another target. A calm person is hard to manipulate, so they intentionally disrupt your peace. They ignore boundaries, provoke you, push and push until you eventually react. The moment you raise your voice or express frustration, they suddenly shift roles. They become calm and accuse you of being the unstable one. They act like your understandable reaction is proof that you are the problem. They erase the hours of provocation and highlight your final reaction as the only part that matters. This method works because stress interrupts your ability to think clearly. When you are overwhelmed, you start to believe their version of events. You forget that your anger was a normal response to disrespect. You start thinking you are the emotional one, while they pretend to be the rational one. They slowly take apart your trust in your own memory, too. They deny events that happened, insist they said things they never said, or claim you misunderstood things you remember perfectly. Over time, your mind begins to lose confidence in itself. You begin asking them what happened instead of trusting your own recall. You surrender your internal truth and they become the keeper of reality. They are also threatened by your ability to feel happiness and enthusiasm. You probably have a lot of inner life, joy, dreams, curiosity. When you become excited about something, an idea, a project, a plan, they feel betrayed. Your joy did not come from them, so it feels like a loss of control. That is why they ruin holidays, sabotage celebrations, or dismiss your achievements. If you come home excited about good news, they may respond coldly, pick a fight, or change the subject. They cannot let you stay in that high emotional place because they fear losing influence. They teach you that joy leads to punishment. Eventually, you stop sharing your happiness and you start suppressing your emotional highs just to stay safe. Your intelligence is another threat to them. You observe, you learn, you analyze. They rely on you not understanding what they are doing. But someone who thinks deeply eventually notices patterns. So they mock your interests, roll their eyes at the things you study, or say you think too much. They try to make your intelligence feel like a burden rather than a strength. They want you to stop thinking because your thinking leads to clarity, and clarity exposes their behavior. Deep inside, they know you are stronger than them in ways that actually matter. You have an inner structure. They do not. You have a stable identity. They do not. You have emotional depth. They do not. Every time you show confidence, it reminds them of their own insecurity. Every time you make a decision without them, you remind them they are not necessary. This creates immense psychological discomfort for them. They cannot handle your strength, so they try to destroy it. But the truth is, they depend on you far more than you ever depended on them. They attack your confidence because it is the one thing that can break their hold. If you refuse to accept their version of you, their entire illusion collapses. They have built a false story about who you are: weak, confused, unstable. But that version is a lie. They fear the moment you stop believing that lie. They fear the moment you return to who you were before they entered your life. That strong, vibrant, clear-minded person is still inside you. And that version of you is the one thing that terrifies them more than anything else. Behind the narcissist's arrogance and cruelty is a truth they cannot speak. They are fascinated by you. They admire you far more than they will ever admit. Everything they criticize in you is often something they secretly wish they had. They saw your light from the beginning. That is why they were drawn to you so intensely. They projected their ideal self onto you. They chased you because they wanted to connect themselves to your strength. But once you became close, your strengths became painful for them to see because they reminded the narcissist of what they lack inside. They do not hate you. They hate the fact that they cannot be you. That envy becomes anger. They punish you for the same qualities that made them admire you at first. If you are honest, they mock you for not knowing how to lie. If you are loyal, they call you clingy or weak. If you are kind, they say you are fake or naive. They try to devalue every beautiful part of you because accepting your goodness feels like accepting their own emptiness. But their admiration never goes away. It becomes hidden, buried under contempt, disguised as criticism. Yet it is always there because deep down they know your value, perhaps even more than you do. And that is exactly why they fear you. They quietly desire what you have so they don't have to feel the sharp pain of envy. They hold back any validation because they see validation as giving away control. To them, if they praise you, it's like placing a tool in your hands. They fear that once you notice how remarkable you truly are, you will also understand that you are far above their level. So they deny you what they know you naturally want: approval. They deprive you of sincere compliments to keep you chasing their approval. It is their way of maintaining control. If they were honest and told you that you are smart, capable, and important, you would no longer rely on them. By making you doubt yourself, they keep you tied to their judgment. There is a specific reaction you will notice whenever you show confidence. They instantly push back. If you speak with certainty about a subject, they will cut you off or argue about something small just to interrupt your flow. They cannot allow you to stand out as the knowledgeable one in the room. They feel the need to disrupt your energy. They want to break your momentum. This isn't about facts or truth. It's about their fear of seeing you rise. They must remain the authority, the expert, the person who gets to decide what is right or wrong. When you naturally step into that position, it endangers the identity they built to hide their insecurity. This entire pattern reveals something hidden deep inside them, an absence of a stable self. Jung said that a person with a strong inner core does not feel threatened by someone else's success. A solid person can admire someone powerful without losing their sense of identity, but the narcissist cannot do this. They experience your strength as a direct threat to their existence. This is why they will often try to take credit for your ideas or claim your success as their own. They might hear you say something wise, ignore it in the moment, and then repeat it later to others as if they created it. They are trying to merge your qualities into their own empty identity. They want applause that belongs to you. Inside, they feel deep frustration and quiet jealousy. They look at your life, your relationships, your calmness, and your resilience, and they feel like life has cheated them. They wonder why you seem to handle things with ease while everything feels so heavy for them. This creates a bitterness that sits beneath every conversation you have with them. They want to take away your confidence so you feel as powerless as they do. If they can cause you to cry, fail, or doubt yourself, they feel a moment of comfort. It brings you closer to their level. For a short time, they don't feel like the only one hurting. But they must never let you know that they feel this way. They must protect the illusion that they are the prize and you should feel fortunate to have them. They will say things like, "No one else would deal with you," or "You'd be lost without me." These statements are lies created to cover up the truth that they are terrified of you leaving them. They know that you are the engine of the connection, while they are simply a passenger pretending to be the one in control. One of the clearest signs that they secretly admire you is their obsession with you. Even when they pretend to ignore you, they watch everything. They follow your activities, your social media, your interactions with others. They observe you constantly. Someone who truly believed you were unimportant would not spend so much time monitoring your life. They are fixated because you are the center of their world. You are the mirror they use to define themselves. They act like you don't matter, but deep down you matter too much. They rely on how you react to shape their identity. They fear that if they ever let their guard down, if they ever showed you a moment of genuine respect or softness, the illusion would break. You would see them as they really are, not powerful, not confident, but insecure and envious. And once you see that truth, you would naturally step into your own power. You would no longer seek their approval. You would stop trying to earn love that should have been freely given. You would simply live in your own strength, and that is exactly what they cannot risk. Their refusal to admit they admire you is actually the biggest sign that your strength is real. If you were truly insignificant, they wouldn't work so hard to diminish you. They wouldn't push against you so fiercely. The amount of energy they use to suppress you shows how powerful you really are. They are not fighting a weak person. They are fighting someone strong. They know this, even if they never say it out loud. When you wake up to this truth, the illusion they created begins to break. This is the turning point they always feared. When you finally see their manipulation clearly and reclaim your inner power, everything changes. This is that moment Jung described, where something transforms into its opposite. The one who was confused becomes the one who understands. The one who felt lost becomes the one who stands firm. The mask they wore begins to fall apart. The narcissist spends the entire relationship trying to stop you from reaching this moment of clarity. Every confusing conversation, every gaslight, every emotional push and pull, all of it was designed to prevent your awakening. When they leave, it is often because they sense that you have finally recognized your own strength. They cannot stay once you see them for who they truly are. They try to weaken you so they can use you. But once you understand that they never had any real power over you, they lose their ability to control you. You see behind the curtain, their tricks stop working. They fear your awareness because awareness ends their influence. They cannot accept who you truly are because acknowledging your strength would mean giving you the authority they want for themselves. It would mean admitting their dependence on you, and they cannot survive that realization. They have nothing real to offer, no depth, no emotional power, no true value. They are empty on the inside. The moment you stop shining your light onto them, they fade into the background. They cannot survive in the presence of your true self. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you to make your own choices because your choices will naturally move you away from them. They need you fragile to keep you close. A healed version of you is a free version of you. What they fear most is the truth that you are actually stronger than them, and they have always known it. Telling you that you are equal or even beneath them was one of their biggest deceptions. You have always been stronger emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You have gifts they simply do not have, and that is why they treat you like a threat. That is why they challenge everything you say or do. They are terrified you will realize what they already know, that you are far more powerful than they are. When you see this clearly, the fear they built inside you starts to disappear. You understand that their anger was fear, their silence was emptiness, their control was desperation. Jung said that the purpose of life is to become your true self. The narcissist tried to block this, but they were never strong enough to stop you. You are seeing the truth now. You are realizing that you were never weak. You were the one with all the power. The nightmare ends not when they change, but when you awaken. When you open your eyes, you no longer see them as a monster. You see them as a shadow, and shadows vanish when the light appears. You take back your energy. You take back your thoughts. You take back your identity. You walk through every lie they fed you and finally see the emptiness behind their mask. And when that realization hits, something inside you transforms. Because once you understand how their manipulation works, once you see that their influence was only borrowed light from you, the fear they placed inside you begins to dissolve. The illusion falls apart. The story they controlled breaks open. You begin reclaiming everything they tried to take: your clarity, your intuition, your confidence. And as you grow, their presence in your mind becomes smaller. Not because you fought them, but because you've stopped giving them space. This is the moment they feared most: your calm, your confidence, your refusal to shrink yourself. Now you understand that your power was never the danger. It was the very thing they were afraid of. Your empathy was not weakness. It was the light that showed the truth of their emptiness. This awakening is not the end. It is the beginning of your independence. You've stepped into a level of awareness they hoped you would never reach. You walked out of the story that kept you small and into the truth that sets you free. Your journey from here is not toward them. It is toward yourself. And this path to full sovereignty has only just begun.